Hello, everyone, and welcome to the New Author Podcast. Today is Friday, January 10th, 2025. This is episode number 295 or 294. And joining me, as he does each week, is Rich Kacy. Rich, I don't think I said my name. I'm Jerry Evanoff. Rich, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I can't believe we're already 10 days into 2025. Just yesterday we were, podcasting our goals and stuff for the year, and what's happened?
I've already made a nice dent in my goal for my word count, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. I also, you and I talked about this on December 31st and January 2nd or January 1st, that I was sick, and I think you were too, right?
I was sick. Yep.
So I'm healed, except for the fact that every now and then, as I talk, I have to cough. Like the air hits my throat in the right way, and there's a little bit of a cough. So if I do that, I apologize to the people.
Yeah.
But it very well.
I'm pretty much recovered too, except that I am just exhausted. So I have not quite caught up on the energy levels yet. But
everything back to normal though, like back into a routine. Wife's back, kids are gone.
Pretty much. I mean, the kids are gone. I'll talk about that a little bit. Last Sunday, I basically got them on an airplane. They were supposed to get back into LA at 6 p.m. They eventually made it in something like 1 a.m. But it's one of the hazards you have of holiday travel.
I gotta ask, are they anywhere near these fires?
Oh yeah, they're all around them. In fact, my son's been sending me pictures out his apartment window, and you can see the hills burning around him. But he's kind of down in the city, and it's just, he's probably about 4 or 5 miles from the nearest fire that they have.
Oh, jeez, that seems too close.
Yeah, but he says it's all concrete between him and there, so it doesn't.
Good.
It's not going to get to him. They've closed both their schools, both UCLA and Caltech, because the fires were like right at the doorsteps of both those schools.
Wow.
Yeah.
I talked to a coworker of mine. Her parents live in California. They were about 15 miles south of one of the fires, and I thought at the time, wow, that's really close. But hearing that they're a few miles, holy cow, that seems scary.
And it's just amazing to look at the pictures, because we were there last year and we drove up and down Highway 1 through Malibu and all that, and saw all those beachfront homes and everything. And just to see them burn charred right to the ground, it's kind of spooky in a way.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna jump into my stats right now, and because it's a new year, I gotta say this at least once for the new listeners. Book 1 in my series was published back in May of 2023, and as I was writing book 2, I kind of decided that I didn't want to just release book 2 and then write book 3 and release book 3. I wanted to write it like a big long series, like a TV show. And I wanted to write all of the first drafts of the first 9, 2 through 9 in this case, and then publish them after book 9, the first draft is written. That way I would be able to make like a consistent story where things that happened in book 2 could affect things that happened in book 9, and I'd be able to go back and see those things because I hadn't published it yet. So as of now, the first draft of book 2, 3, 4, and 5 are finished, and 7 is about 75 to 80% of the way done. I've also written a prequel novella that I want to get done ASAP. So I've got a lot done last year, and now this year I'm currently working on book 7. I skipped book 6. I'll go back to it next, but I skipped book 6. So book 7 is actually sitting at 42,208 words. It's actually up, and I went back and did the math. It's up 14,908 words since the last time we talked.
Wow.
Which was about 3 weeks ago. I'm down to about 4 chapters left, maybe 5 chapters left, and I really want to call it finished soon so that I can get to editing of the prequel novella, because I want to do that next, and I want to get that out on BookFunnel so I can get it out as early as possible and start building the list that I can send to as soon as the book 2 is ready to come out. So that's the plan. In terms of the overall words for the year, I ended 2024 at 206,108. I mean, I didn't hit the 240,000 goal, but I did cross over 200,000, which was nice. And so far in 2025, I'm sitting at 6,889 words of the 145,000 word goal that I put out there for this year. So I made a nice dent into it in the first 10 days of the year. My average words per hour at the end of 2024 was 1145.6. So far in 2025, I'm actually killing it. I have 4 writing sessions in so far. My average is 1476, but that's because I had a really, really good New Year's Day that I'll talk about a little bit later. It's been falling each day since then because I'm actually back to normal of of getting the normal amount that I usually get. I'll probably end up closer to 1145 as I go through the year. But it is nice to be a little higher, and I wouldn't be surprised if I was a little higher. I think I'm actually doing a lot better over the last few months in terms of my word count. So I wouldn't be surprised if that did jump up a little bit.
Yep. I mean, it's good to start high because it's, the law of averages. It's hard to move an average once you get a little ways into it. So
yeah. And I didn't really make a goal in the last diary podcast we did, other than to just make progress, and I did. So success, yay!
Okay, so for me, my stats are basically just going to go back to the beginning of the year, in and around Christmas time. Like the week after we last podcasted, I got ill and I didn't get anything done getting ready for Christmas. Then we were traveling, so not much happened. But so starting at the beginning of the year, I didn't do any editing since then on romance story number 1. So first draft is finished at that. It stands at 56,257 words. Since we last talked on January 1st, I have added 2,860 words to romance story number 2 in this series after scrubbing nearly all the words I wrote previous to it, because I decided I'd started the story too early. I didn't start in media res, and I had to move it up. But so that story right now stands at 2,880 words. Now, my goal for this year, as I mentioned, was to hit 200,000 words, new words for the year. That works out to roughly 550 words per day, and I'm already significantly behind that goal. Because I'm only at basically 288 words per day. But that's primarily because of the holidays. The kids were here. I allowed the Future Fiction Academy, which I joined on 1 month free trial, to take precedence, so I can try to push through some of that material, see if it's worthwhile ponying up the $159 a month to continue it into February. So I've kind of put the writing a little bit on the back burner for the first 10 days of this month. Plus, I'm only probably in the last 5 or 6 days have I started really feeling good. I mean, I'm still don't have my full energy levels back. So that's going to take some time to get back. So I'm not really worried about it. I can catch up. It's early in the year, and a couple of 2,000 word days, which is not unusual for me. We'll get that back up. As for my social media presence, I mentioned on our diary podcast on January 1st, I'd like to hit. I think I said at the time that I had like a little bit under 500 followers across the three platforms I'm really active on. And I'd like to 10x that up to 5,000. Kind of the idea giving a little bit of experiment here for this year on social media, whether it can be used to actually build a big enough following where when you do put a book out or something that you actually see some traction with people buying it. But after we talked on January 1st, I decided what I really should do is go through my accounts and weed out all the bots first, because the bots don't really count, obviously. So when I did that, I started the year really with 379 actual followers, people who are real, or that as best I can tell, they're real. They actually do posting, and their posts aren't trivial. And stuff like that. So in the first 10 days of the month, I posted something like 8 of the last 10 days, not counting all the commenting I tend to do on other people's posts. And with that activity, I managed to pick up 120 new real followers. I had a bunch of bots I had to get rid of as well. So right now, my social media stands at 499 followers, and that's across Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads. With just under half that being on Blue Sky, which is where I'm really active. I just kind of copy over onto Insta and Threads. But I don't know if you've been following the news on Facebook and their changing of their moderation policies and stuff. There's been a big exodus starting from Instagram and from Threads, just like there was from Twitter when Musk started doing the changes. Basically, Facebook is walking down the road that Musk did with Twitter and turning it into a free for all with the right wing and Nazis having prominence. So that's why creative types anyways, are leaving there. So I'm not really going to post anything specifically for Instagram and Threads. Each of these platforms kind of has their own culture to it and their own kinds of things that people like to see. I'm just going to work on Blue Sky. Blue Sky is where the mass of the creatives are migrating to. So I'm just going to post to Blue Sky, cross post to the other 2 platforms, and just see what happens going on this month, next month, And then I'll probably reevaluate at the end of March to see whether or not that is going to get me any kind of traction or not, or if I'm actually adding followers the way I need to in order to get to 5,000, or if it's just kind of a bust and I don't do anything beyond the first quarter. But we'll see. I did pick up 120 new followers, so yeah, that's fine.
It's really going to put a hitch in the Instagram stuff I talk about later. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. So what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to try to go back through the last 3 weeks and pick the stuff that happened. You know, I basically outlined every day because I tend to do that when I'm writing anyway. But I'm going to try to pick out the stuff that happened that wasn't important. I don't need to go through every second of every day, but there's some writing stuff there that happened during that time. So let's go back 3 weeks tomorrow. So this is the Saturday before Christmas. This is where I got up early. I was feeling kind of sick. And once I showered, it kind of helped clear my head, and I headed out. I went to the casino first. I think I said I was going to take a break. Well, starting after that day is what I meant, which, by the way, was also a lie. And I went to the casino, and when I came outside, it was just a blizzard, giant snowflakes. I'm just so annoyed by this. So I didn't go anywhere else. I went home.
You know, if you're going to have snow, though, those giant snowflakes are the prettiest kind of snow to have.
No, anybody that says snow is beautiful is wrong. I don't.
Oh, okay.
Horrible stuff. And I went home. I did not do anything writing related once I got home, other than I didn't do anything. I played my dice football game a little bit, and then I watched football. Kind of sat on the couch all day. It was probably partially because I wasn't feeling that great, but just did not do anything that day. So no words on that Saturday, which is always I always feel guilty about no words on a Saturday, but just wasn't feeling it. Went to bed pretty early, about 10:30 on a Saturday, and was still feeling kind of yucky and better than the previous night. But I'm going to say that apparently I wrote in the outline a bunch of times here that I felt better. It was a lie. It was all a lie. I didn't feel better for weeks. So Sunday, though, again, up pretty early, hung out around the house, and then had to force myself to get dressed and take a shower and get out because I wanted to get some words down. I didn't want to waste the whole weekend. Again, not 100%, feeling better. I think it's because I was just all drugged up. I kept taking Advil, and that helped made my throat feel better. And then I'd be like, oh, maybe I feel better. And then 12 hours later, be like, nope, still feel just as bad. So this morning it was about 15 degrees, and I actually put the Celsius conversion for my friends outside the U.S. of minus 9.4 when I left the house Celsius. But I started my car, let it run for a while and warm up, and then I went to Panera. When I went to Panera, I wasn't quite ready. There's that cough. Man, it's annoying. I wasn't quite ready in book 7 to just continue on from the chapters, 1 through whatever. I think I was right around 15 or 16. I wasn't really ready to just continue on because the stuff I had written in the previous couple chapters needed change. I knew it needed change, and I didn't want to go in and write this midpoint knowing that I'm going to have to change it again because I'm changing stuff that happened earlier. So I was just kind of looking for chapters later in the book to go ahead and write. So I ended up writing 1,526 words in chapter 4, which is what got me close to that 200,000 word count. I didn't want to wait until Christmas or New Year's Eve to have to write 4,000 words to get over 200,000. So I wrote as many as I could on this day, and I felt good about that. And I got home Sunday and watched some football and then went to bed. Monday I worked from home again. This is the start of the 2 weeks during Christmas and New Year's when I'm working from home. Other than the holidays, I'm working from home every day. I don't have to go in the office at all. Nothing writing related on this day. Felt like I was on the downside of my cold because that's what I wrote in the outline, which I really wasn't. Big lie. I'm lying to myself here. Tuesday, this is Christmas Eve. I was off that day. Again, here's what I wrote in the outline. Woke up a little bit stuffy, but my throat is about 95%. No, it wasn't. It was still 20%. The Advil was just masking it. And I didn't. Again, the good thing was I didn't have any other problems. My head was a little bit stuffy and my throat hurt, but other than that, I wasn't stomach problems or massive headaches or anything like that. It was more of an annoyance than anything else. So stopped at my dad's Aunt Susie's to drop off some of the stuff for our Chinese auction that we do every year on Christmas Eve. This is my favorite event of the holiday is that night, Christmas Eve over at my dad's Aunt Susie's. And then I went to Chick-fil-A and I worked on chapter 25. This is kind of Sam's lowest moment. He's almost killed during this moment. He's saved by somebody he does not want to be have to deal with, and this person saves him. And then so it ended up being about 75 minutes of writing, and it was 1,905 words. It was a good day there. And I didn't even know that I had written that many words until I was finished. I added it all up. I was really surprised by that. I got home, again, played my football game. You're going to notice a theme through these couple of weeks. I played a lot of that dice football game because I didn't have to go into the office. So I'd get off work at like 4, and I could come back here and play for an hour, and it's still only like 5:30 by the time I'm done. So it was great. And then that night, Christmas Eve, we went over to the extended family where we had our Chinese auction. I won a whole bunch of stuff, which was nice. And we had some dinner and caught up with all the relatives. My dad has cousins that are actually a year, 3 years, and 5 years older than me. And we've always kind of thought of them as my cousins more than his. I've golfed with them, bowled with them. Good guys. Don't see them very often, lately at least. But really, that side of the family, the extended families, they're great. They're great people. So
for those of us like me who don't know what a Chinese auction is, what is it?
So there's about you walk down into her basement. Her basement is a museum to my little town. She has everything that ever happened in this town going back like 150 years on display in her basement that she's collected over the years. But right in the middle of it, there's big, long, like 8-foot tables, and there's just a bunch of stuff that we've all bought and donated. Like I bought lottery tickets, and I bought a little electronic device. There's always going to be giant candy bars. There's going to be blankets, candles, just anything you can think of that you would give in a gift exchange is there. And then you buy tickets. So you get, in the case of this year, we got 50 tickets for $20. And then you put tickets into the little baggies for the items you want. So some people put 2 or 3 tickets in each bag. I picked the 7 or 8 things I want, and I put most of my tickets in there. And then when we're done, you take the bag, you dump it into a hat, and if there's 1 ticket in there, that person wins. If there's 50, then you pull one out, and whoever has that number wins that item. So you can win, like I think I won 6 or 7 items. I won like paper plates, and I won some dish soap, but I also won like a giant candy bar, and I won some lottery tickets. It's just a lot of random stuff that we do. And then at the end of it, she takes all the money that was used to buy the tickets and she raffles that off in $20 increments using all of the tickets that were bought. So I ended up walking out. I spent $20 for 50 tickets, and then I won $20. So I broke even, and I won like the 6 or 7 prizes. And it's fun.
Nice.
It's always fun. Yeah. So and we really look forward to it.
Lots of trash talking going on.
Well, yeah, everybody knows each other. Everybody's fun. We all know each other. One of the girls, who I think she's probably just 17 or 18, she's one of the cousins of daughters. She was the only person to not win anything. So there's a lot of making fun of her throughout. But you're also hoping at the same time she wins. But there's also a lot of like, not so much from me or my mom or dad, but from like her, her dad or her mom might mention something to her, and it's kind of fun that way. So, so then Wednesday's Christmas morning, Merry Christmas. I went to my parents to open gifts, came home, did nothing, went back for dinner, came home, did nothing. I mean, it's very quick Christmas. I was happy with that. And then Thursday, I had to go back to work. But again, I'm working from home. Nothing writing related on that day. Friday, again, working from home. Nothing writing related. But I did stumble across a YouTube channel from a guy who posted a couple videos about Novel Crafter. And I think I've mentioned this before. Novel Crafter intrigues me. I think it's a really, really interesting program. I think out of everybody that writes programs that involve AI, they've done the best at incorporating it, because I think they included it from the start and I don't even know if that's true or not, but that's what it seems like to me. So this guy showed how he imported a book in and how he was creating codexes. And I thought my biggest problem is, again, I have a book published. I have books 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 just about written. I've got a prequel and Vella just written. I've got hundreds of characters across these books. Changing over to Novel Crafter right now is not the smartest idea, because I've got to get it updated with all that stuff. Because if I don't, and I'm using the AI to help me plot, but I don't have all the stuff in there from previous books, it makes no sense. It's silly to even do that. That's the point of Novel Crafters, to have all those codecs set up so that you can plot easier. But I watched his videos. He showed a couple things he did to make it a little easier. I'm like, oh, this is a little more intriguing for me. I'm kind of interested in this. So Saturday, this is the Saturday between Christmas and New Year's. I'm up early again. This is about the first day in 10 days where my throat wasn't terrible when I woke up. It still hurt. It wasn't terrible. I could still feel it. Not 100% healed, but I also wasn't as bothersome, but that's probably because I had taken drugs the previous night. And I went off to Chick-fil-A. And at this point now in book 7, I'm jumping around looking for chapters I know I can write, because I know I'm going to have to update those earlier chapters. So doing anything with those or the plot points in those makes no sense. So I jumped near the end. I went to chapter 22. This is kind of the chapter where Sam realizes who did it. He just doesn't know how to prove it, or if he's even able to prove it. So this was a little bit tough in this chapter writing. I ended up doing 831 words. I don't write down the amount of time here, but it wasn't much time. But I did start and finish the chapter, which is good. By the time I expand it, it'll be a lot more than that. But I was very happy to have that chapter written. It's actually a chapter that has some stuff in it that goes back all the way to book 1, which I find really interesting. That means I have to work it into some of those books in the middle too, so people don't forget about it. But I really like the chapter. I like how I came up with him figuring out who did it. So then in the afternoon, this is what day is this? I don't know what day this is anymore. I'm not even sure where I'm at. This is Saturday between New Year's and Christmas. I got home, didn't do much of anything, played my football game. I balanced my budget, getting it ready for 2025, and then I watched TV until I went to sleep. Sunday, back to Panera, so we're a week later now from when I started. Back to Panera, and again, still trying to figure out what chapter I'm going to do here. Out of order, and I ended up going back to chapter 17. I had written the first half a while ago. This time I finished it, adding 1,395 words to it. So I'm making progress. It's good I'm making progress.
You've never really jumped around in your writing of a book like you have with this book, have you?
No, I think there have been a few times where I've written like the last chapter, but other than that, yeah, I don't tend to do that very often. I might write a pinch point out of order, but other than that, yeah, you're right. It's because chapters 10, 11, 12, 13 need changes. And they have to do with, I need to incorporate Sam's father into the story better. And I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to do that yet, but I'm going to, by the midpoint, he's going to have that part kind of worked out. And it's going to play a different role in the second half. And I know what that role is going to be, but actually the working out part is where I'm stuck. So I've just kind of skipped over those, knowing how that part's going to end. I can still write the second half. So that's why. Let's see. Where are we at here? Monday. So this is a week and a half ago. This is the Monday before New Year's. I work from home, no writing, but again, more novel crafter stuff. I'm looking around YouTube and I'm watching this guy again. This guy's channel is called Dream Write Go, and I'll post a link to the video that I found of his. Again, he only did 2 videos. It looked like he was going to write a book, and it looked like he was going to like show how he did it using Novel Crafter because he started it. And then all of a sudden, the videos switched over to him showing how he was going to do some Python programming, which was weird. So I don't know if he just quit posting the video. I don't know. But this video was really good. This first video was really good. The way he did it, the way he explained it. And again, I'll post the link in the notes if you want to go ahead and watch it. But this really gave me an idea of how I could easily set up the codexes using the AI, which was basically, hey, AI, I just put the book in there. Give me all the characters. And which... I don't know why I never thought of that before, but seeing him do it. And then I went to the Novel Crafters, their channel, which is generally hosted by this woman named Kate Robinson. And I watched her. She every week she does videos on Novel Crafter, but they're not like demos or tutorials. They're just her writing a book with. I think she works for the company, but it's her writing her books with it, and it gives you an idea of what you can do with it. So I've watched a lot of those. I didn't put that in my Addicted To, but it probably should be. So then Monday I logged off work around 4:05, and by 4:10 I already resubscribed to Novel Crafter, opened it up, imported my book 1 that I published back in May of 2023, used the AI to give me a bunch of characters and give me descriptions of the characters. I had to reset up the open router connection, which was no problem, and I had $5 in there from when I used it last. I think it was like $4.85, and I was using the entire book as my what do they call it, the context, which is like 50,000 words. And I was using GPT Mini, and I would say, here's the entire book. Give me all the characters. And I'd look, and it cost me like 2 cents. Like, it was amazing. I used some of the other ones. The one that I really liked the most so far was, oh man, now I can't remember. What's the one? Claude. Claude, I don't remember which version of Claude it was, but that thing was, holy cow, it was expensive. But it also gave me like the answers I liked the best. Which was nice. So I'm going to experiment. I'm going to try to put together a grid, maybe even this weekend, of like, I'll ask the AI, I'll use the same context, and I'll ask the AI the same question with all these different models and see which ones cost the most compared to which ones give me the answers I like the most. And maybe
have you ever tried Mistral?
Mistral Medium is another one that I've played around with. Yeah.
Okay. They've got a new, they just put out a new version of it. I can't remember the name. It starts with a P, and it's weird, but I really like it.
I'll have to try it.
Yeah, it avoids a lot of the purple prose problems that Claude often has.
And so does GPT. Holy cow.
Yeah.
This Kate Robinson, she calls it a GPTism. When you see a word like boy, I can't remember any of them off the top of my head, but man, when you see it, you know that ChatGPT did it. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but yeah, it's weird. But yeah, so Monday night, I really got a lot of the characters in from book one, some of the codexes set up in terms of the locations and some of the other things that were going on. And now I'm just kind of going through. I'm going to create a codex that gives the chapter by chapter plot summary, so that when it comes to, and I want to do that for each book, so that when it comes to plotting, let's say book 9, I can use that in my codex instead of using the full context from every book. So I can still get an idea of what happened in each book that way, which is nice. So, so again, I'll post that link. And then I also watched another video. What was it? It was so there was another video series I was watching on Novel Crafter. I opened the video up and you could tell that the voice was AI. And I hate when I open YouTube and it's an AI voice. I feel like I got duped. And so I immediately went to close it. But as I was closing it, the first comment I saw said, "This is a really helpful video." And I'm like, all right, I'll give it a chance. Then I watched it and I realized it is someone like doing screenshots and they're moving the mouse. Like, I don't know if they got AI to talk over it or if he just has a really AI-like voice, but it was great. Like, it was a really good video. So I'm going to post that link also. Okay. And if you want to watch those, you can. But these are the two videos that got me back into trying Novel Crafter again. And I hate paying $14 a month because I hate monthly subscriptions, but I've canceled so many monthly subscriptions in the last 2 weeks that $14 a month is, and I'll talk about one of them in a little bit. $14 a month is fine because I've canceled probably $30 or $40 or $50 a month in the last couple week or so. So then we get to Tuesday. This is New Year's Eve. So Tuesday and Wednesday, New Year's Eve, I did not expect to write. And even if I did, maybe one of the 2 days, and I did not expect to write much, but holy cow, I went to Chick-fil-A in the morning. I wasn't even planning on it. I was talking to a friend of mine that morning as she drove into work, and she just said, "Hey, what are you doing today?" And I was like, "I don't really have any plans." And it's like, wait, Chick-fil-A is open. Why don't I go and write? I don't have anything else to do. I'm off work. So that's what got me in. I ended up writing 2,361 words in about 100 minutes. I crushed it on this day. I did not expect that. I was really, really on a roll. I was very happy to get 2,361. And then I watched some YouTube, and then we did our 2024 goals wrap-up podcast that evening. And then on Wednesday, same thing. I got up. I did sleep in a little bit, which was nice. And I didn't, in the past, I don't feel like things have been open on New Year's Day, but lately they have been. In fact, Panera was open. I felt great when I woke up. My throat wasn't sore for the first time in 2 weeks, probably because of the drugs I had taken the night before. I'm still not healed, even though I thought I might be. I updated the podcast outline for the 2025 goals we were doing that night, and then I was off to Panera. And while I was there, I wrote exactly one more word than the previous day. I wrote 2,361 on New Year's Eve and 2,362 on New Year's Day. But this 2,362 was in 80 minutes.
Wow.
It was, and this is what started my words per hour to be so high for the New Year's, this day right here. And again, I was just on a roll. I'm near the end of the book where I'm wrapping things up, and I'm loving the way this is ending. And I'm just going. I'm just on a roll. So it's great. I don't really know what I did when I got home. It's not important. Probably watched football or something. Thursday, I'm back to work now. This is the Thursday after New Year's. Nothing exciting happened on this day. So I did sit down and start working on some more codex. I created a codex called Book Plots, or a group called Book Plots, where I started working on the book one stuff so that I can include those when I'm plotting later books in the series. And then Friday, work from home, nothing exciting, other than what I'm calling the Great Blizzard of 2025, which really started on Friday morning and didn't end until I woke up on Saturday. I had about 6 inches of snow, which probably isn't a lot to some people out there, but it is for me, because I hate 6 inches of snow. To me is like 3 feet of snow. It might as well be. So I dug myself out. I wasn't going to let it beat me, just like when I get sick. I can't let the snow beat me. So I dug myself out and cleared my driveway, my sidewalk, and then I headed out. I wrote in here that my hatred for snow is matched only by my hatred for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is pretty much true. I was off Chick-fil-A again, and the roads were great. They weren't great. They weren't undrivable, but they weren't great. On the speed limit on the highway I go to Chick-fil-A for the 4 or 5 miles I'm on the highway, Speed limit 70. We were going about 50, so that does tell you that there was some snow on the roads. But I made it okay and got to, this is going to be chapter 20. I wrote 1,666 words, and I was down to about 5 or 6 chapters left to get this first draft finished. And we're almost in the home stretch, Rich. Go ahead.
Do you feel like the traction with your EV is pretty good?
I don't know. I don't really drive fast enough to be like, oh, I'm going to slide. I feel like it's the same as my other car, but it could be better, and I just don't know it. So I don't feel it, but it weighs a lot more, so it certainly could be.
Right. I was wondering in terms of starting, not at speed, but actually starting up, whether you get, because it's so much heavier, whether you get a better grip on the road with the.
No, I would say there have been a couple times when I'm leaving from a stop sign or a red light, and I push on the accelerator, and it spins the tires. So I would say probably not. Yeah.
So it's front wheel drive, right?
Yeah, I didn't get the all wheel drive. Yeah.
Okay, and the batteries are mostly towards the back. Well, actually, where are the batteries?
All across the bottom. It's all across.
Is it the whole bottom? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then Sunday, I'm up early. It's 12 degrees when I leave. Fantastic. This is the giant snowstorm that went across the middle of the U.S. Mm-hmm. Hit like the bottom part of Ohio. We kind of caught what they like to call the glazing of it on Monday, but on Sunday, I went to Panera and I started out by doing some of the planning of the chapters I have left. I need to work out why one of my characters was a perfect suspect, their secret, and then how to prove them innocent, which was the widow basically of the victim. I did that first, and what did I do? I was also copying some of the early chapters of this book in Novel Crafter, one chapter at a time, because I do want to talk to the AI about that middle part that I'm struggling with to help me get some ideas of how to do what I want to do. I know who the characters are. I know where I want to get to. I just need a little bit of help I need a little nudge basically with the plot of what to do with one of my characters. So I didn't write as much as I wanted to because I was doing some of that. I didn't write in 631 words in about 20 minutes of actual writing. The rest of it was planning and playing around with Novel Crafter a little bit. So then Monday, this past Monday, so we're 5 days away from me getting caught up to where we are tonight. The big giant snowstorm continued across the U.S. And I went into the office on this day. It was my first day back into the office since Christmas. I didn't really want to because of the weather, but I had to, basically. I had to work Monday, Tuesday, Thursday this week, regardless of what, in the office, regardless of what happened with the weather, because I had something going on Wednesday and I didn't want to go in today. So at lunch, I ended up working on chapter 20. I added 1,203 words in about 45 minutes. And that's not even halfway through that chapter. And then I did nothing in the evening. Tuesday, back in the office. Roads were a lot better. There was some blowing snow. That's the one thing I do notice is the efficiency of that car is horrendous when it's cold. I mean, the first couple of days I had it, it was 55, 60 degrees, and I went from 80% to 40% of my battery, so I used 40% of the battery. This week, it was 80 to 20, so I used 20 more percent to go the same distance. And that's just because the battery has to work harder to get you through the wind. It doesn't like to be cold, all that stuff that they say. So the way I look at it, though, is as long as it gets me back and forth to work, I don't care if I get home with 1%. It doesn't matter.
Right.
As long as I make it back and forth to work, I'm fine. So let's see. So on Tuesday, I wrote 1,038 words in the same chapter. That chapter is now up over 2,800 words. And it's still not finished. It's probably going to end up being a couple chapters once I go to format the book.
Yeah.
Wednesday, I'm back at home. I'm working from home. I was so what did I write here? This is an interesting idea. Okay, so I'm back home, and in the evenings over the last couple of days, I just while I'm eating dinner, I'm looking for something to watch, looking for some noise. I watch a lot of that Novel Crafter channel with that Kate Robinson to get an idea how she uses the AI to I'm not looking to write with it. I'm not looking to say, hey, write this chapter for me. I'm not interested in that. I enjoy writing this stuff, but I am interested in how do I plot better? What do I do with the codexes to make my plotting better and to make my talking with the AI better in terms of helping me through spots where I need help with plot ideas and things like that. And so I watched a lot of her channel this week in the evenings just to get an idea of what she's doing with it. And again, she's not doing a tutorial. She's just basically doing what I'm doing, and I'm seeing where she's clicking and the things she's doing. And
I've tried to watch those kinds of videos, and after about 5-10 minutes, I just can't continue because it's just not moving fast enough for me, I
Yeah.
guess.
Oh no, they're 2 hour videos.
Yeah.
I mean, she does.
Yeah.
Her videos are a series, and they're 2 hours each. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where like you can't just sit down with the idea of I'm going to sit and watch this for 2 hours. I watch a little bit here and there. I stop.
Right.
I go come back to it later. Think that kind of thing. So absolutely.
I just
did add another.
I get antsy. I get antsy, and I start thinking, I really should be writing instead of sitting here watching this.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah. So then let's see. I did add a new goal to my 2025 goals I didn't talk about on January 1st. And that was, and this is a goal I'm not sure if I'm going to follow through. But that goal was to try to get Novel Crafter set up with all books that I've written, including all the first drafts. I also want to get my time travel series in there because I do want to go back and finish book 3 in that series. It's the third book of a trilogy. I kind of got about 65% of the way done and I put it aside. And I would like to go back and finish it. So if I can set up Novel Crafter, maybe you can help me with that middle part plotting where I had kind of been struggling a little bit. So and then Thursday hit. Thursday was very, very interesting. This is yesterday. This is a very interesting day. I worked. I wrote it. I didn't write it. I didn't get any new words at lunch, but a whole lot of things happened here. Number one, I unsubscribed from Audible. And I did it because it's $15 a month. I love Audible. I listen to it all the time. But I think I'm going to give Libby a try. Didn't you use Libby? Are you still using it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Libby is the big library app across the country.
Yeah. It never hit me to use it for audiobooks. And I started looking at it. I'm like, well, this has a lot of audiobooks in here.
Yep.
So, and my biggest issue with Audible is I get 1 credit and I really struggle to pick audiobooks to listen to. The fear is I'm going to download it, not like it, and now I've wasted a credit. Now I'm sure, my guess is you can return them. I don't know. It seems like a hassle to me. I don't really want to deal with it. So I thought, let's give Libby a try because you can download samples. I could download a book today, and if I don't like it, I can download another one tomorrow. So or check it out, basically. So I canceled Audible, which basically evens out the Novel Crafter subscription that I put in there. But I got an email from Author Nation. I want to talk about this real quick. I got an email from Author Nation. And it basically said the $499 ticket deal was going away soon, so you should get your ticket. Now, $500 being the deal, and you have to decide in January if you're going to do this, really, really annoyed me. Like, I was really annoyed by this. I immediately went in and unsubscribed from everything Author Nation emails me now. I'm not dealing with that anymore. I really in my head, I started to go back to 2017, right? I'm a new writer in 2017. I'm just learning. I didn't even know you could self-publish like in 2016. And so until I started listening to Sean, Johnny, and Dave, I had no clue what that even meant. And then I found 20 books. And then I found the 20 books conference in 2017, $129 for the ticket. And I went to it. There were about 600 people there. And like, I learned all this stuff, book funnel, book brush, story origin, all of these Scrivener. I didn't know what Scrivener was back then. I was writing in Word, or I was writing in Google Documents. I had no idea what Scrivener was. All these things, all these pieces of software. I remember standing at what do they call it? The water cooler. I stood at a water cooler and I had a conversation with this woman, Diana Knightley, I think her name is. And I had a 10-minute conversation, nicest person in the world. She walks away. A couple days later, I look her up and she's got Caitlin and the Highlanders, her book that is her #1 book that's out there. She's got like 4 books in the top 10 on Amazon. Like, I'm like, holy crap, I just talked to this person. She was the nicest person in the world. It was so great. And then I went to England in 2018, and I went to Vegas in 2018. I went to Scotland where I met you in 2019, and I went to Vegas in and I'm like, this is great. And then it got really big, and Craig wanted out. I don't blame him for wanting out. It's a lot of work. He's trying to write books. He's getting older. I get all that, but he sold it to a guy who's basically going to knock everybody out who was like me back in 2017, wanting to learn stuff and will not be able to go to that conference and learn stuff. And it really, really bugs me.
Right. Yeah. He, well, basically, yeah. The idea is that the indie industry is maturing and he's going to make it just for the indie professionals, I guess is the way you would say it. You know, if you're a newbie, you're going to have to pick it up someplace else. So.
And listen, I'm never going to begrudge anyone for trying to make money in their business. I am like pro corporation. I get it, but I don't like the way it's happening. And I don't like that it happened to this thing. When it went from nonprofit to profit, it just changed it so much. And I feel bad for the newbies who are just getting started today and they're wondering, where do I learn stuff? Well, I can't go there because it's going to be $800. Again, I don't know if that's what the price is going to go to. My guess is going to go from $5.99 to $7 or $4.99 to $7.99. I don't know, but that's my guess. And they're going to be like, well, I'm not going to take $800 just for a ticket. I still got to pay for my flight and my hotels and all the stuff that you have to pay for when you're in Vegas, which, by the way, Vegas is pricing out all the fun people. Buffets used to be cheap. Hotels used to be cheap. Everything used to be cheap because they wanted you to gamble. Well, now everything's expensive and they still want you to gamble. So
right.
I just feel bad for the newbies and I feel bad for me because there's still stuff coming out and now I don't know where to find it. Like I don't go to 20 Books thread anymore. Craig's not on there anymore. Michael's not on there anymore. They left the group. I don't know where I'm going to find this stuff. So
right. It's time. Well, I think one thing you will see is you'll see a rise in smaller regional conferences. I know they have one up in the Pacific Northwest, and at the moment, its name escapes me, but it's very highly thought of. It usually attracts 200 to 300 people.
Yeah,
and it's not very big, but it's the kind of setting where you can get to know people and get to know what they're doing and how they're using the tools and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I made a goal. I made a goal that day. In fact, I went to my phone and I went to my my podcaster app that I use, and I just searched indie author. I re-downloaded like a couple of them that I'd heard of, a couple that I didn't heard of. I'm going to start listening to them and give them a chance. One of them is Brian Cohen's podcast. I haven't listened to in a few years. One of them is the Draft the Digital guys. I haven't listened to that in a few years. I really like that. I don't know why I stopped listening to that one. My guess is I got a new phone and forgot to download it.
Right.
So I'm going to listen to that one. I'm going to look on Facebook for some different groups that are related to, like you said, more regional. Maybe I can find an Ohio group or Northeast Ohio, or maybe Trumbull County where I live, something like that group. Because it's just, I don't know. I was annoyed. I was like legit sad and annoyed when I saw that email that just said, and there's no details. There's literally nothing that says, it's going to go to this. And there's nothing. Craig used to send out things like, hey, we just got this many more ticket people. That's $1,000 more. I'm putting it towards cookies. Like, you're not getting that from, and again, it's because it's a profit thing. He's trying to make money, whatever. I don't like it. It just makes me sad.
I haven't, I'm getting those emails too, and I haven't unsubscribed from them, but because I just want to see where it's going to go. So I'll let you know where it goes.
You have to keep me updated because I'm out. I unsubscribed from everything. Yeah, I was so annoyed.
I don't know if you're talking about podcasts, looking for new podcasts. Have you ever listened to the Rebel Author podcast by Sasha Block?
Oh no, I haven't. Rebel?
Yeah, the Rebel Author podcast.
No, I've heard it mentioned before. I haven't downloaded it.
Yeah, Sasha is great. I mean, her how she describes herself is her approach to life or whatever is with a heavy dose of lesbian rage.
Okay. It's a little bit different than the way I approach life, but okay.
Yeah. But she is just really, really animated. Gets really wound up on some of these podcasts. But she has guests and they talk about the nuts and bolts of doing the stuff that you have to do. And they consider themselves small-time authors, so yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good podcast if you want to check one out.
Getting back to Author Nation, one thing that bugged me was I went looking for reviews of the show. I wanted to see what people said about it, just to see. This is before I saw the price. This is a couple weeks ago, and other than a couple of people on YouTube who were just doing their own channel that had maybe 1,000 or so views who talked about it. One guy was negative, somebody else was okay with it. There's nothing on 20 Books. I feel like 20 Books banned people from talking about Author Nation.
Yeah, I think they may have, because I looked too.
Nothing
at all.
Yeah.
Now, people have talked highly of it, but the people that have are people like Joanna Penn, who, not only that, but the reason why they liked it so much is there wasn't all this beginner stuff. It was all advanced, people who are already 6-figure, 7-figure authors, and, they're hobnobbing and sharing ideas with each other. So,
and that does nothing for me.
Right.
Yeah. So then, okay, let me get off that little soapbox. I was just really, I was sad in that morning, but so at lunch, I edited the first part of chapter 25, which is it's the third to last chapter. It's the scene that gets us into the climax. It's pretty tense. This is the scene I wanted to read in my writer's club because I wanted to get the opinions of everyone in terms of was the tension there. And it was really nice because I didn't have time to edit the entire thing. And I told them ahead of time, I'm like, yeah, this is the part that leads into an exciting thing. And Mallory said, thanks for bringing in the boring part. So what I brought in was like the thing that led up to this tense scene, and I just wanted to make sure that I was getting that tension in there. And I got some really nice thing. Dan had said to me when I stopped, he's like, "Oh, I really wish you'd keep going," and which felt good. And then Jake had told me that maybe I went on a little bit too long trying to extend that tension, and maybe I need to get to the point a little bit quicker. And he gave me some examples, so I'm gonna definitely look into that stuff when I go to edit that chapter. Yes, I mean, my writers club last night was all about Michaela and her reading chapter 50 of the book that she's been reading for like 3 years to us, about the origin story, her version of an origin story of Davy Jones. And I'm not a pirate person. That is not my genre at all. I generally would not read that. But she's such a good writer that I was really hooked into the story. And I'm not going to spoil her ending, but I will say that her ending was not something I saw coming. I don't even know. Like it was so funny. There were 3 different opinions of her ending. Dan, who's in his 70s, said, "I don't like that you did that." I, who just turned 50, said, "Well, I like that you did that, but I don't think you did enough throughout the book to earn that." And Jake, who's in his probably early 30s, maybe late, I think he's early 30s, said, "I loved what you did there." So like we're all talking like, and it was really just the 3 of us debating this. Well, Michaela just sat off and listened, and we were trying to figure: is it an age thing? Is that a generational thing? Is that why we felt the way we felt? But I really think that when this book is available, everybody should read it because it is really, really good. I don't know if she's self-publishing or traditionally. I don't know what she's doing with it. She's still editing it. She's working on book 3 right now. She's been reading us book 1 for the last 3 years, but it's really good. So I can't speak highly enough of it.
Well, I'm guessing the twist is not that he decided to have a career change and join the Monkees.
No, but believe me, I made so many of those jokes over the last 3 years. Yeah, and sadly, me and Dan might be the only 2 people that got it because we're both the 2 that who know who the Monkees are.
Right, right.
But yeah. So then I got home last night. I worked from home today. Nothing writing related at all. And we are podcasting. It's like 6:41 p.m. There's a pretty good chance that once we're done, I'm going to do a quick YouTube video for my APBA football game. I ordered a new set of cards. I'm gonna do like a little unboxing, and then I'm gonna grab my laptop and work on this novel crafter stuff again tonight. So that was it. I appreciate you letting me take the last 47 minutes to talk about my last 3 weeks. But there was a lot of fun little writing stuff in there that I want to talk about.
Yeah, you did a lot. Me, I did nothing. Between the last Saturday we had a regular, or Sunday, Friday, whatever it was, that we had a regular podcast 3 weeks ago, and January 1st, in between traveling because I drove to Detroit and back, and being sick, and then the holidays and the kids being here until this past Sunday, I did absolutely nothing. The only thing I did do, I believe, in that period was I did sign up for the Future Fiction Academy for their free monthly trial for January. I did that right at the end of 2024 because I was really intrigued. And what really got me to do it was the fact that they say that they're closing membership and they don't think they'll ever open it again.
That seems so odd to me. That's anti-author nation right there.
Yeah, but now that I'm on the inside, I'm seeing what it is they're doing, what it is they're developing. And I'll have some more about this later when I get more into it. And basically, they're developing and building their own writers group, essentially.
Yeah.
That is going to make heavy use of AI and some very novel. They're doing some very novel things with it. So that I don't think they want to get into the position where they're having to service or onboard a lot of newbies who don't know what's going on, and that's basically what it was. So, anyways, I'm gonna go through the basically since last time we were together on January 1st, basically from New Year's Day through last Sunday, I didn't do any writing at all. The kids were here during that period, and I also had to work 3 of those days, even though I was sick. So that kind of filled up all my time. We did do some, obviously in the evenings, did chit-chatting, played board games and stuff. And even though I was sick, I still ate way too much. And maybe it was because I was sick. I ate too much. Usually eating too much does not bother me. I'm from Eastern Europe. That's what we do. Feast or famine. You never know when the village is going to be raided next. So you eat when you can. I did spend days looking for that new word tracker that I was telling you about, the really simple one with the little pie chart and thing. I knew I had saved. I could not find it anywhere. And then one day Tammy goes, hey, do you think you maybe saved it to Google Drive? And of course, that's where it was. I hardly ever use Google Drive, but that's where it was. And maybe I hid it there on purpose because when I opened it up, I realized that the name of the spreadsheet was Deep Low Panic.
Oh, jeez.
And I didn't name it that. The creator named it that. So
That's funny.
I thought, yeah. So I finally found it. I've left it there on Google Drive. I may try to port it out to my machine in Excel or whatever and see what happens. See if it works still the same. Monday through Thursday of this week, these were all work days for me. But I did manage to start off the week with a bang. I got 1,965 words on Monday, which, as you might guess, it was because it was really super slow in terms of the flow of library patrons we had. I think people were still recovering from the holidays on Monday. The weather was still decent. We hadn't gotten the storms come in yet. So that was the only thing I could think of why the people weren't there. Tuesday, that patron flow picked up significantly, and I had a lot of things to do, not strictly patron related, but back office stuff. So I only managed to get 607 words at lunch on that day. I think I only wrote for about 40 minutes or something like that, but still it was something. Wednesday, it wasn't really any worse in terms of being busy with library activities, but I did on Wednesday start to explore that Future Fiction Academy material. And then I fell into the rabbit hole of trying to get there. They have a proprietary GPT that they have developed and are continuing to develop. It's one in which they have an API connection to all the different models and allows you to get in there and fiddle with all the different sensitivity settings. You don't just, you can give it temperature, you can give it high P, you can give it K cutoff, or all these different little variables, parameters that these models have. You can play with them to get the kind of output that you're looking for. The problem with that is, well, not the problem, but one of the things they encourage you to do, because this is what they all do, is to connect their proprietary GPT to Notion. And I don't know if you ever looked at Notion or not, but it's one of those productivity and collaboration platforms, like Trello or something like that, where and connecting it involved getting a half a dozen different API keys that had to be set and verified in the right order. And while I was trying to do it on Wednesday, I kept on getting interrupted by patrons, so I never did get it to work correctly, and it was just driving me nuts that something that should be simple to do just wasn't. And they have a really good documentation about how to step through it and get it get it set up, but I just could not get it to work. So I went home that night with the idea that I was going to go ahead and work it at night where I wasn't getting interrupted. But I was so exhausted from fiddling with it fighting it during the day, and then being sick still from over the holidays that nothing came of it. I just kind of sat around and did nothing. Probably surfed YouTube, which I often do when I'm feeling like that. On Thursday last, I hit it again, and then I had the whole thing up and running in under an hour. And I did, and the reason why is because I did it in the back office on my lunch break when nobody interrupted me at all. Multitasking, and I should know this, I've worked with computers my whole life. If you're multitasking and trying to deal with in the nitty gritty of setting programs up, it just doesn't work. Because you end up missing critical steps or whatever. I did not get much time to write at all on Thursday, but I did manage to squeeze out 288 words there at lunch right at the very end after I had gotten that thing set up. I'm still really interested in the coming weeks to play with that GPT and see what it can do in terms of generating ideas, developing outlines, stuff like that. In the evening, that Thursday, I came home yesterday. I just came home and relaxed working on a puzzle with my wife. Today was a day off, as it are tomorrow and Sunday. I've been really short on sleep these last 2 or 3 weeks. So I slept in until 10 a.m. this morning, after which I've done absolutely nothing of note other than continue working on that puzzle we started last night. But this evening, I hope after dinner, I'm going to get back into that GPT and fiddle around with it. Take a look at. They've got really, really extensive video tutorials. They have it. They port it to text, so you can read the text, but it's not great. They're just using some Surface in order to port it. But because their tutorials run for an hour and a half each, and they probably have. My guess is probably at least 50 to 60 different videos right now.
Wow.
So 50 to 60 hours of training on how to do different kinds of things using their GPT and what your AI of choice. So I think it's exciting stuff what they're doing. Really looking forward to going ahead and digging into that and see where it leads. In terms of my running list of future things to do, there's nothing new on there. Future Fiction Academy is at the top. I do have some housework, car work to do, but none of that's going to happen until it warms up because we've got cold for us anyways. And we're getting down to right around freezing or a little bit below at night. And it's only going into the 40s during the day, and it's raining every day. So it's just dreary kind of weather. So I'm just going to be sticking inside and either doing that or I did pick up a new book to read because the one I tried to start. I don't know if I mentioned this. Seth Godin's new book. It was called Strategy. I think it's just called Strategy.
Mm-mm.
And this bugs me about some people, these guys, these gurus, what they do. Basically, I didn't realize this. I should have thumbed through the book before I took it home. It is a book of very, very short blog posts, 200 words or under, that he has done over the years on different aspects of strategy. And I'm sure they're arranged in some kind of a coherent fashion, maybe, but I can't stand reading books like that. They're just, packaging of blog posts. So I took that.
It reminds me of, I'm a big Tony Kornheiser fan. I've been listening to his podcast, his radio show since like 1999 or something like that. And he actually took a book, a bunch of his columns that he had written for the Washington Post, and he put them into a book, just like you said. And he titled the book "I'm Back for More Cash." Just totally honest, about why he wrote the book. So so at least he's honest about it. Yeah.
Well, and at least they're columns, so they're probably decent length.
Right.
So
right.
they're actually kind of coherent instead of just shotgun thoughts that you've had in the shower or whatever. So instead, I picked up a new fiction book entitled "Margot's Got Money Troubles." So I'm going to find out what that's all about.
Sounds like the same kind of book.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So that's it for me on the week.
In terms of I have one new thing, and then I just have something on here because I wanted to talk about it. I wasn't sure where to put it. Remember, I don't know if you remember me, 6-8 months ago, I was so excited that I could take my jerry@jerryevanoff.com email and port it to my Gmail so that I would be able to get things through there. Well, I've decided that's a horrible idea. Strictly because I would get emails in my Gmail while I was working. And it's like, well, I'm not going to look at this stuff now. And then it would stack up. And I thought, this is dumb. Why am I worried about writing stuff when I'm not writing? So I got rid of it. I got it off of there. And basically I have my writing laptop in the other room, and my Outlook is open all the time on it, even when the laptop is closed. And then the only time I ever open that laptop is when I'm writing. So like tomorrow morning when I go to Chick-fil-A, I'll open it up. I'll be able to see if I got new emails, deal with them, and then write. And then I don't have to worry about it again until I go to write again. I just didn't like getting that stuff during the week while I was working. It was like an interruption I didn't need.
Right.
So I kind of like it better this way, and I'm going to be sticking to this way going forward. The other thing that I added, funny that you talked about people leaving Instagram earlier. I don't know if you've seen this or not on other social media sites, or maybe you've seen it on Instagram. Every now and then, I'll be scrolling through the Instagram Reels, just seeing what's out there, and I'll pop up, and it'll be like he was just her stepbrother. Or just my stepbrother. Yeah. It's first person. And I'm like, whoa, what's this? Then I'll read the next one. And I'll go, what is this? And then at the end, it'll be like 5 or 6. And at the end, it'll be like, read the book here. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that was a book. Like, I just thought this was some weird post that I was reading. And I'm like, I wonder if I can do that for my murder mystery series, where I've got like some kind of a reel that's like, he was something, he was lonely, he wanted to know what happened with his parents' death, or I want to know what happened with my parents' death, and then use AI or come up with some art to have a person, and then have it be like, then he went out on a work trip and he met a girl and he met some new friends. And I have this picture in my head of the new friends being the 2 policemen he worked with, or the policewoman he worked with, have him handcuffed, in the picture on the reel. And then he solved the murder, read about it here, where I wonder if I could, I don't want to use the word trick because it's the wrong word to use, but it's true. You trick someone into just reading your post, then they get to the end and go, oh, that's a book. Oh, that sounds interesting. And maybe give it a click. So I've thought about something like that sooner than later, actually.
Yeah, it's not a trick. It's called a hook. That's what we
There you
do
go. I'm sorry.
as
It's a
authors.
hook. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
it's
what
a
we do.
hook. Yeah. So I'm really in, and I haven't really seen many of these, but every one of them gets me until the end, where I go,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's a book. I didn't realize it's a book," and I'm like, "Oh, man, this looks kind of interesting." So yeah, I do want to look into something like that down the road, but not too far. I almost want to, once the prequel novella's up, I kind of want to see if I can experiment with it a little bit and see if I can get people to download book one or buy book one, so that when I have book two out there, I'll have a pretty good idea of like what worked and what didn't. So it might be something I fool around with. I don't even know where you find these. Like, are these ads you build on Facebook and set them to Instagram? I don't know how to build them. Are people building them on Facebook and they're building the reel that way? Or do you do it in? I have no idea. So it's something I'm going to Google down the road to learn how to do. I really like the idea.
I don't know for sure either, but I think you're right. You build the reels within the Facebook, within the Meta platform, and then these would not be considered strict advertising within the Meta framework. You're actually building a reel for people to watch,
and it's under your name. It's not under your advertising.
Right.
So it's not going to cost anything.
Right. That's my understanding from looking from knowing the people who do it. So you're just building a reel that people, get interested in. They go from, one, I don't know what they call them, episodes or whatever within the reel to the next. And, and then they just drop the book title or whatever on it. And then you trust that. Well, you can put, I believe if you have enough subscribers, maybe even if you don't, you can put a link in the comment to the last reel. But otherwise, you just count on people being intrigued enough that they, hop over to Amazon or whatever and type in the book title. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm definitely going to look into this. It's again, another thing that's intriguing to me because, again, I've fallen for it every time. Yeah. Every time and again, it's not happened very often, but every time it happens, I fall for it. I get to the end and go, "Oh, that's a book. I didn't know that. I thought I was reading somebody's personal story that was really interesting," which means the hook is working. So it's good. I like that. So, and then I have also in here set up my author.email or go back to MailerLite. We'll see. Which I said I was going to do during the holidays and didn't do. That is something I definitely need to do before I get the prequel novella finished, which I'm going to go back to in a couple weeks and start editing. So I really need to work on getting the MailerLite or the author email, whatever I go. I need to get it back set up and working. So, in terms of my addicted to, I got two for you here. One of them was on here from the last time. It's the Labors of Hercule Poirot podcast with Frankie and Adam. I love it. I'm getting all caught up. They're 3 years behind me, and I'm now a year and a half behind. They only do them every 2 weeks, so it's not too bad. But I love Poirot, and it's fun watching them again and then listening to them talk about it. The second one is something that's a little new. Maybe I don't know if you're aware of this show or not, but when I was a kid, I was a huge Gary Shandling fan. He died about 9 years ago. Made me sad because I was a really big fan of his. But he had a show called It's Gary Shandling Show before the Larry Sanders Show. And he was basically like, hey, I'm going to live my life in front of the cameras and the live audience. And all of my friends know that I'm on a show, but they can't see the audience unless I say, hey, look, there's the audience. And he has the greatest theme song of all time. It's just a funny show, and I like Gary Shandling a lot. It's silly. And it's got, I don't remember Howard Sprague from the Andy Griffith Show. He was a character on the Andy Griffith Show, the later seasons of the Andy Griffith Show. So
what character?
Howard Sprague. That was the character's name.
Oh, the character's name? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember.
So in later episodes of, in an episode of the Gary Shandling Show, It's Gary Shandling Show, Howard Sprague, the character, moved into Gary's condo complex, which I'm like, this is a great crossover. So and he gets a lot of, like, there's a couple of episodes where there's a Christmas choir with a guy named Leonard Smith, who's the head of the condo association. In the choir, for no reason at all, is Tom Petty. So he's in a couple episodes. So it's just a fun show, and it's on YouTube. It's the only place I can find it. And I've been watching a bunch of them on YouTube just to get, it's a half an hour sitcom based, but it was on Showtime. So but they didn't really swear or anything. There wasn't any nudity or anything. It was just on Showtime. So it was a lot of fun. I used to watch it when I was a kid, and then I've been watching on the YouTube now. So it was a lot of fun.
Okay. Well, speaking of swearing, one of the addicted twos I mentioned a little bit earlier, these past 10 days or so, has been that Rebel Author podcast with Sasha Black. She cannot go a podcast episode with dropping at least a half a dozen F-bombs.
Nice.
So
nice.
That's just who she is. But the other thing, just a little more interesting, I think, is past Sunday before we took the kids to the airport to leave, we went out to lunch at a place called Frank's, which is a diner here in Baton Rouge. It's basically an institution. It's been here since the early 60s. You go in there and all the old timers are there from the local area where it's at. They got the bar where the bachelors and stuff can sit, but then they got tables and things, and they make the absolute best biscuits and sausage gravy that I've ever had, which was great because I haven't had it in long. Hadn't been to Frank's in years, but the problem is that I remembered how much I like biscuits and gravy, and now I've had them every day since.
Wow.
I know. I've been making it myself at home, and my cholesterol's got to be going through the roof, and I have to go to the doctor in a couple of weeks. So now I am taking a cholesterol drug, so maybe this is a good test to see whether that drug
cancels
does
it
anything.
out. Nice.
That's right. See if it does anything or not. So yeah, my big addiction has been sausage and gravy, or biscuits and gravy.
Biscuits and gravy. What's funny is I've never had biscuits and gravy before in my life.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, but in the last couple of years, I've watched a number of people. I hit the microphone. I've watched a number of people on YouTube from like Europe react to them eating it for the first time and loving every second of it. And I'm like, I got to try this at some point. I'm not a sausage fan, but I'm like, I got to try this at some point. So
yeah, it is so good.
Yeah. In terms of my week coming up, back to kind of a standard normal week. I kind of had that last week, but we're getting back to normal here. Tomorrow, we're supposed to get a few inches of snow overnight. The stuff that came up from Texas, I hit it again. Stop doing that. The stuff that came up from like Texas and was, I think, just a little bit north of you is coming up toward us. And we're supposed to get a few inches of snow overnight and a few more tomorrow because, again, like I wrote in the outline, God forbid we go more than one day in a row without getting snow. We're literally the entire month of January, we're not going over freezing. So the snow that hit us before Christmas is still there. And it's just piling up. Now, we're not getting as bad as, the people up near the lake and the people in Buffalo and Rochester and that kind of thing. But, we're still getting it. I hate it. The hatred I have for snow right now and most of the time. So, but I am going to get up in the morning again. Can't let it beat me. So I'm going to dig out and head off to Chick-fil-A. I don't really have much. I do have a couple errands I need to run after that. But other than that, not much. So I'm going to come home, watch the NFL playoffs start at 4. There's 2 games tomorrow. And I will watch as much of that as possible. Sunday, I'll do Panera in the morning. Again, there's 3 football games. Sunday, playoff games. Monday, I'm back in the office. I'll write at lunch. Try to do about 1,000 words like I try to do normally. Tuesday, same thing. And then Wednesday. So one of the things I want to do this year is I want to start writing more on Wednesdays at lunch. Even though I'm working from home, I want to try to get consistent with walking across the street to the library. Even if I get like 500 words, I just want to get something done on these Wednesdays. So I'd written in the outline that I'm going to do it this Wednesday, and then I realized I have to take my dog to the vet on Wednesday. So I won't be doing it this coming Wednesday, and I couldn't do it last Wednesday, but I'm going to get consistent with it at some point. I just don't know when. I really want to start getting some words on Wednesdays, which is good because that means on those days where I take Friday half days, that means I'd write all 7 days, which I think it could be kind of interesting to see how many words I can get when I'm writing all 7 days. By the way, I did some math. What's today? Today's Friday. I did some math Thursday morning, yesterday morning, that if I do not take any vacation days in January, and I do not take any vacations throughout the year, I can start working half-day Fridays on February 7th and work every single 5-day work week, have a half a day. And the only weeks I wouldn't do it is when there's holidays, meaning I would not have to work a full 5-day work week the rest of the year starting February 7th, if I wanted to. I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is go about every other week starting February 7th. And then by the time July rolls around, I'll start going every week. That'll still give me like 4 or 5 days to take whenever I want to.
Right.
So it's going to be a lot of half days this year. I talked to my boss yesterday morning. I'm like, did anybody say anything about me taking all those half days? Because people started to mention. One guy asked me if I was part-time. Another guy was like, in a meeting, he's like, Jerry, are you in tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, I'm in tomorrow. He's like, all right, because he noticed it. So people are noticing it, and I just don't want anybody to be upset by it.
Right.
And my boss said, nah. He goes, it worked out for me just fine. He's like, nobody said anything to me. So starting February 7th, I'm probably going to take my first one. I'm going to go every other week or so until the end of June. And then I'm going to go every week starting in July on weeks where there's no holiday. If there's a holiday, that's my writing day. But if there's not a holiday, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So it'll be kind of fun to see how that goes.
How many vacation days do you get a year?
20. So I get 160 hours to use so I'm using them 4 hours at a time, basically.
Okay, that's nice. Yeah, I get 12. at the moment. I mean, it increases as if I'm here long enough. I
Mhm.
guess you probably could get to 20, but I won't be. I won't be at the library long enough for that to
Okay.
happen.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned the snow. One of the things my wife is onto right now is both the kids are moving back to Michigan come July. They both have uh, teaching jobs at colleges that are about 40 miles apart. So, and it's right there on the western side of Michigan, right next to
Oh,
Lake Michigan.
yeah.
So lots of snow,
Lake
and
effect.
yeah. And one of her things was, you're getting too old to shovel snow. We're gonna have to go into a condo or something. And I just told her that's why I own a truck. Yeah. So
You know
I'm
what
not
I've
going to
been
worry about
doing?
that.
I've been using a broom lately instead of a shovel because it's not
Mhm.
the snow we've got so far hasn't been horribly sticky. So
Right.
I just broom it and I threw salt down and like the front of my sidewalk all the way to the main sidewalk is dry today. Right
Right.
now, it's just tomorrow morning when I wake up, I don't know what it's going to look like. So
Right. Right. Well, that's the thing. If it's as long as it's not getting too cold, you put that salt down, and the residual action will last for a while. So
yeah, we haven't had any days like below 10, except maybe in the middle of the night. But most of our days are 15 to 25. It's
right. Right.
annoying. Again, no days over freezing until February. Just annoying. Just need to make it through January. No vacation days, crappy weather. I just need to get through January.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Thursday, I'm back in the office. I'll be writing at lunch. Friday, I'll work from home. Nothing writing really planned on Fridays. That'll be the day that I take off, unless I take a half a day, and then I'll have time to go write. My goal for this week, I have 6 writing sessions planned. I actually have 5 now because I won't be doing Wednesday because I'm taking my dog to the vet. It's just to get book 7's first draft finished. I have 4 or 5 chapters left. I'd love to get that finished this week. That's a pretty lofty goal because when I'm in the office, I don't get a lot. I get about 45 minutes to write, maybe 60 minutes at the most, depending on when I go to lunch. So the goal is to try to get book 7's first draft finished. I really, really want to get to that prequel novella so I can get it put on book funnel ASAP.
Right. Well, my coming week is I'm going to be having the tomorrow and Sunday off, but it's really super yucky outside, so I won't be doing anything in the garden outside. I'm going to try to focus on doing some writing and getting into those Future Fiction Academy materials while I'm still on the 1 month free trial. I do need to pot up about 100 kale plants that I sprouted indoors. So I might do that as well this weekend. The longer I leave them, though, the worse off they're going to get. They need to get into some real soil in order to start growing well. Monday through Friday, I'll be working every day at the library, so I'll be fitting in writing time when I can. I hope to do a little bit at least every single day. Hopefully, the weather will be bad because then the library will be quiet. And what by bad I mean if it's if the daily temperatures are below 50, which they're predicted to be for most of the week, people don't go out in
Mm.
South Louisiana. They stay home, and when they do go out, they're bundled up in huge parkas, and it's like in the north when it gets down to like 10 or 5
Yeah.
degrees. That's kind of what people look like here when it's in the 50s.
I still remember when I went to Florida in 1997 before I moved there. Went down there for 2 weeks in January, and I was walking around in 50-degree weather in shorts and a t-shirt, and
Yeah,
the locals are all wearing coats, and
yeah,
I'm just like,
yeah,
it's not too bad down here. It's January at
yeah,
home.
yeah, exactly. My hope is that I'll get at least 550 words per day and maybe even catch up a little on being behind for the year by doing a couple 1,000 or 2,000 words days, which would probably catch me up to where I need to be right now in order to hit that 200,000 by the end of the year. I do have I have to give blood for blood tests on Tuesday morning, but that really shouldn't take too long unless there's big crowds, which sometimes there are. It's amazing the number of people that want to shed blood sometimes at these doctors' offices. In terms of things to share, I really don't have anything that I haven't already shared. It's been kind of a quiet, although fast, 10 days to the beginning of the year. It's kind of strange.
All right, well that's gonna be it for the podcast. We were a little bit long this week just because I rambled for about 45 minutes about the last 21 days of my life. But yeah, it was good. I'm glad to finally get back and do this and get back on our every Friday here.
Yep.
Um, and that's going to be it. So if anybody wants to contact us, they can get a hold of me, Jerry at jerryevanoff.com. The website is jerryevanoff.com. You can find me on Facebook, Jerry Evanoff Author. I'm going to start posting that a little bit once I have the prequel novella up there, just to let people know. I also want to let people know about the email list. What I'm going to try to do is post on my Facebook page and say, hey, if you want to join my email list so you know when the next book is available, you can do it here. And then I'll create a separate list on whatever site I use that holds those people compared to the people that I get from the BookFunnel stuff, because I don't necessarily want to mix the people from my Facebook. Those are the people that I want to let know a book is available maybe a week later, just so the also bots aren't messed up a little bit. So I'm going to do something like that with my Facebook.
Okay. For me, if you want to contact me, my email address is rich@richkacy.com. And I'm on social media basically primarily on Blue Sky now, although you can also find my posts on Instagram and Threads. Facebook, I've kind of disappeared from Facebook. Most of the people that I used to interact with have left Facebook with the collapse of Vella. So there's not much reason, although I do still have a presence there if you're on there and want to contact me.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening, and we will talk to you all next week.
Have an awesome week.